Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to yet another week of crypto mining morning show, starting at 9:45 a.m. Central to 10:45 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday, unless it was last week I took Friday off. I am currently in the process of training for a jiu-jitsu competition, and I was super tired. We'll get into that later. But today's episode, we're going to be covering new updates to two miners. One is LoLMiner has a new update we'll go over the patch notes for, as well as Team BlackMiner has made a new release. They seem to do a lot of releases, but we're going to cover their patch notes as well. We also have AMD RX 6500 XT launch announcements, as well as RTX 2060 12 gigabyte model launch announcements. Now, we're going to go over that too. Apparently, you can already purchase them in France via, well, through MSI. Apparently already has some in the wild, so that should be interesting. Everything else that we covered today is going to be standard. We're going to be checking out the mining market currently, especially post crash, and see kind of where we're sitting at. We're going to be checking out mining pool stats and mining pool profits and going through all of that stuff as well. And then at the end of the show, we will be covering questions and comments, etc. Now, I did want to address, I guess, a little bit of drama over on Twitter. I already made a formal apology over there. I made some rude comments towards Barnacle Nerdgasm, and I had originally pulled them down. Now, within like 12 seconds, he had screenshotted them. He's very upset, and I made my formal apology there. Now, the reason the apology is important is not necessarily because I was incorrect on the premise of where I was trying to get to. I don't care to get into all that right now, but it was the intention of, I believe it was the second chain or second tweet in the chain that I knew would kind of offend him, and that wasn't right of me to do. So for my own personal conscience, there we go, I wanted to make that apology as well as in the first video, since that all took place. If you guys want more details, it's really, you can go on Twitter and look at his Twitter. I'm blocked over there. But, all love to Barnacles Jerry and everybody else in the community. And I make mistakes, and I want to apologize for that. So before we get into the rest of today's show, let's go ahead and run the partnership ad, and then we'll get going from there. Today's video is brought to you in partnership with GamerSupps. GamerSupps provides a healthy alternative to sugary energy drinks with delicious flavors like Misfits Melon or my favorite Blue Raz. I use the GamerSupps as an alternative to support my active lifestyle outside of content creation. Caffeine-free options are great for late-night gaming after the kids have gone to bed. And my favorite part about GamerSupps is that they accept cryptocurrency. And for a limited time, when you purchase a tub with cryptocurrency, you will receive a Bitcoin shaker. Follow the affiliate link in the description, and don't forget to use code SOAT at checkout. Oh, hey there. Thanks for watching that ad. I have my little shaker here. I'm going to fill it on up with a little bit of tasty GG over here and knock that in. This is the Gamer Fart 9000 flavor. It doesn't actually taste like Gamer Farts or avocado, even though that's what's on there. I'm going to do 3 scoops today. So there you go. And bam. So pretty cool. Always happy to have them as a partner. If you guys want to go check them out for the holidays and purchase a tub, I'll get a 20% kickback on whatever you purchase. So that is full disclaimer. They do not pay for individual ads. So every kind of company does everything a little bit different. That's the way they function. So full disclosure, pretty much. All right. So let's go ahead and pop into the first set of patch notes for today. We're going to be taking a look at LoLMiner 1.38. It launched 3 days ago, It was kind of like in between. I don't think we fully covered it. They definitely updated the patch notes here. And you're going to see a very specific reason why they updated the patch notes here, because it's very important. And really what you're going to learn from this launch, right, or this release is more of kind of how the crypto mining market is shifting and what's going on internationally, like globally, right? Because obviously right here, boom, right off the bat, due to the current circumstances and the focus of this publication, the change logs are bilingual this time. Why is this in Chinese? Well, once you start reading the changes here, it's pretty clear. First is added DNS over HTTPS name resolving for establishing your pool connection. This has advantages when your normal DNS resolving might be blocked or modified by a firewall. You can control its behavior with the parameter DNS over HTTPS value with the value 0, turns DNS over HTTPS off, and one DNS over HTTPS is enabled. Fall back to normal DNS if resolving is possible. So what's happening? Why is this going on? Well, in China, essentially what is going on is they have basically been, they locked down their internet pretty good. So the government does have control over what comes in and out through the internet, blah, blah, blah. And what's happening to Chinese miners is that the pools are essentially getting blocked basically by not resolving a certain DNS name, whether that be for, ethermine.org or flexpool.io and so on and so forth, right? Basically, essentially, they're removing the DNS resolve so it won't resolve to the IPs for those pools. Hence why you see these patch notes in Chinese, and hence why you see basically a very specific set of changes that allows for you to resolve DNS outside of said firewalls or ISPs and so on. This is a very interesting change of events, and it'll be curious to see if the hash rate goes up in the Chinese locales, right? I'm interested, but updated internal libraries for TLS connection handling. That's going to be important for this as well. Moved more fee pools to use TLS connection when mining ET hash, ETC hash, both plus ZIL, Ergo, and Beam. The fee connection is now always encrypted at TLS 1.2, and mining data packages can not be identified as such. Change light hash rate kernel defaults for RTX 3060 and 3070 because the default ones had issues with defect shares at high overclock. So that could be interesting to test from that perspective. And then it says real quick, a big kudos to Flexpool with helping out with this, which is interesting. I'm wondering if Flexpool was the one that specifically helped out with the HTTPS resolving, or with what portion of this they helped out with. I'm actually super curious. But at the end of the day, what does this tell us? This definitely tells us that what happened with Chinese pool or Chinese miners disconnecting from pools and DNS resolving issues, or people that were connected through a Chinese VPN and mining, what was happening that we thought was happening was, DNS failing to resolve because of blocks by the Chinese government, ISPs, and so on. And it looks like that is pretty solidly confirmed here, because why else would we see miners releasing fixes that basically bypass, the external influences or blocks that may be applied in those geographical locations? Now, obviously, they also did updates to help further protect and secure those connections by updating the libraries for TLS, as well as, basically that, right? TLS. There you go. So pretty much we're talking about secure connections and bypassing any sort of faulty DNS resolving hosts, I suppose, right? Whoever and wherever those may be present. I thought this was one of the craziest updates because this really does also show the attitude of crypto, which I really like, which is, this is about the people. This isn't about, necessarily just making money. This is about providing financial freedom globally to everybody and giving them the tools to do this. And so I think this is an awesome move from LoLMiner. I don't know about what kind of crazy lists this puts them on as far as like, how it's going to be accepted by the governments or whatever, or if it's even on their radar at this point. I feel like this would definitely put them on the radar though. So anyways, it's good news overall. This is a good thing for crypto, I think, in my humble opinion. I think it's the right direction. Let's go ahead and get into Team BlackMiner 1.30. This launched 2 days ago, and let's just go ahead and hop into it. Version 1.30. Number one, NVIDIA partial light hash rate unlock for all drivers and models enabled with the LHR unlock switch. Now you will have to put that switch in to activate. There's no auto unlock to my knowledge for Team BlackMiner at this point. Since it is unlocked for everything, I am going to go ahead and hop in and figure that out and see if it's made any improvements since the last time I tried to test, in which those tests just didn't go over well at all. So I believe the video was, I don't like Team BlackMiner, primarily because of the issues that it had with the light hash rate unlock. Along with just essentially, they seem to have the most bugs right now that they're still working out. That's fine. I'm okay with bugs and working bugs out. I just, maybe if that was a little bit more acknowledged, could be helpful for people. But there you go. They removed var diff in the display when pool has static difficulty set. Reduced memory usage. Added support for more pools, improved maintenance fee code, fully integrated, and improved the Stratum code, more compatible, less rejected shares. Unlock device 1 and 2 in the 6-card rig. So you have the LHR unlock there. Example. These are just examples of how you would utilize the LHR unlock. Another way, just like different ways, basically. Depending on how many, also it would depend on how many GPUs are in said rig and so on. So it does state this version doesn't have an LHR detector, but will reset the device every hour just in case. Now, that is important to talk about too. So when we're talking about LHR unlocks, essentially kind of the unlocks can start falling off. You saw this in like some patch notes in LoLMiner, where if it would, for the auto tune, essentially, if it fell off, what the auto tune would do would be to like reduce the amount of the light hash rate unlock. So let's say like default is 74% and it fell off, basically it would drop down to 73% and then retry that. And then what they modified on LOL's part was the amount of time before it would actually go ahead and drop down, meaning like if it's at 74% for 2 hours plus and it fails and it drops out of the unlock, LoLMiner would keep the same unlock and just reapply it, right? If it was under 2 hours, then it would drop it from 74 to 73%. Now, in the case here, this is kind of weird because it doesn't have an auto detect. So because it doesn't have the light hash rate detection going on, as opposed to just checking it and then modifying it or whatever, all it is doing is re-unlocking the cards every hour. So it's reapplying it every hour. That's probably fine, but it does, to me, feel like a Band-Aid. That's not how it should function. Ideally, if you're going to be using light hash rate cards with a light hash rate miner, you would have one that's a little bit more sophisticated, such as LoLMiner, that will run some sort of detection. But I'm sure this is early stages and they're working on getting to that. Just kind of some notes and background behind, like, I guess, the differences between these miners when all of these are taking place. So let's go ahead and get into new GPUs. We have AMD RX 6500 XT to talk about. It's going to be launching in January. And there is also the RX 6400 that will be in March of next year and will feature entry-level RDNA Navi 24 GPU with 4 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. So, as you guys know, the DAG on Ethereum is above 4 gigabytes. These are probably not going to be relevant specifically for that. Now, for Ethereum Classic, it could be relevant. For, I believe, some of the other ones, Flux would be relevant, some other coins, right? So it could still be relevant from those perspectives, especially with the launch being so close to the presumed proof of stake merge, which there was a commenter. And here's the thing, when you guys comment, if you comment something like Ethereum merge has been delayed till 2023, at least like maybe just put in quotes the article, that the article title, so I can Google that up, because to me, I'm not seeing any official announcements of a delay of proof of stake to 2023 at this time. So if you guys do say stuff like that, if you could help me out, because I'll talk about it. I just need at least like maybe in the comment section, like quote out the title of whatever article that you've been basically getting this information from, because if I can't verify it, then it's kind of hard to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into the remaining specifications for this GPU and look at the article. More details regarding AMD's entry-level RDNA 2 Navi 24 GPU powered Radeon RX 6500 XT and 6400 graphics cards have leaked. The new information comes from enthusiast citizen over at Bilibili social network. Bilibili. That's a hard one right there. Billy. All right, moving on. AMD Radeon RX 6500 XT with full Navi 21 RDNA 2 GPU in January, and the RX 6400 with the Navi 24 Lite rumored for March launch. We know that AMD is preparing at least 2 graphics cards based on its Navi 24 RDNA 2 GPU, the Radeon RX 6500 XT and the Radeon RX 6400. Both of these graphics cards will be aiming for the entry-level segment. The RX 6500 XT will be competing directly against the RTX 3050 Ti and Intel Arc A380. Now, we've talked about both of those GPUs in last week's show, so make sure that you go check those out if you want more information on those specific GPUs. AMD RX 6500 XT graphics card with Navi 24. All right, so the AMD RX 6500 XT will be utilizing the full Navi 24 XT GPU die, internally known as Beige Gobi. The AMD Navi 24 GPU is the smallest of the RDNA 2 lineup and will feature a single SDMA engine. The chip will feature 2 shader arrays for a total of 8 WGPs and a maximum of 16 compute units. AMD has 64 stream processors per compute unit, so that brings the total core count on the Navi 24 GPU to 1024, which is half that of the Navi 23 GPU, which will offer 2,048 stream processors and 32 compute units. In addition, the number of cores each shader array would feature 128 kilobytes of L1 cache, 1 megabyte of L2 cache, and there would also be 16 megabytes of infinity cache. So there's that infinity cache that they've kind of used to basically up their performance levels when in traditional rasterization versus NVIDIA, and hasn't really been applied to mining at this point yet. The AMD Navi 24 RDNA 2 GPUs will also be featured across 64-bit bus interface and will be featured on low-end Radeon RX 6500 or 6400 series parts. That's a very, very tiny bus width, by the way. I think when we were talking about the 3050, those are going down to what, 98? Was that correct? 96, yeah, 32, yeah, because it always goes up by 32 bits. So it was 96-bit bus on the 3050. But it's also expected to get really high clocks, but that's going to be on the core, so it shouldn't really impact mining at all. As for specifications, the RX 5600 XT graphics card will feature 1,024 cores and 4 gigabytes of GDDR6X. The card would not be able to operate in any mining algorithm, especially ETH. That's weird, because why wouldn't it be any? I don't think I agree with that, WCCF Tech. The top model will feature a TDP slightly above 75 watts. As such, will require external power connectors to boot. The card is expected to launch in mid-January, so expect an announcement at CES 2022. The second card in the RDNA2 lineup is the 6400, which will be based on the slightly cut down XL chip with 768 cores. The card will retain its 4 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory and feature slightly lower clocks, but still at the 2.5 gigahertz frequency range. It is reported that the 6400 is not going to require any power connectors to boot thanks to its sub 75 watt TDP. It will be available in March around the same time as Intel launches its first Arc Alchemist GPU. Both GPUs will be aimed at entry-level segments with MSRPs of sub 200 to 250 US. Since the RX 6600 series is already positioned in the premium 1080p gaming segment, expect the Navi 24 GPUs to be aimed at the entry-level 1080p gaming market. But given that AMD has raised the prices of RDNA2 GPUs and alerted its AIB partners to do the same too, the entry-level market may end up in another mess for budget builders trying to get something after a year's wait. So you have all the specifications here. Let's find those. We're down here at the bottom. We're looking at a total bandwidth of 112 gigabytes per second. Now, we're going to calculate this out for ETH for fun, but keep in mind this is purely theoretical, provided the DAG would fit. So it could apply to Ethereum Classic, and pretty much that's it. Maybe there's one other ET hash, I think like Quark or something like that. We'll do it. We're going to calculate it out, but it's not going to be great, right? So we have the 6600 here, and we have the 6600 XT here as well. We know that the 6600 is doing about 30 mega hash a second, so we can go ahead and get our percent calculator out, as you guys know that I like to use. And basically what we need to calculate out here is going to be basically the percentage of these two. It's about half. It is half. 112 versus 224. So it's 50%. So theoretically, you would be looking at, essentially looking at 15 mega hash a second on these GPUs. I don't even have to do the percent calculator. Like, we're talking about half the memory performance. So we're talking about half the hash rate is essentially on Ethereum. So there's no worries there. Now, the 6400 would probably be what you went with, right? And then you would probably be able to potentially get, like, it's a sub 75 watt card, so it'll definitely never probably go over 20% of that. So it'll probably, in theory, right, never go above 60 watts. And then if you tune that in, we could be talking about 30 to 40 watts of power consumption on the 6400. The 6500 XT is probably not the buy even for other altcoins at this time. And we're still looking at, of course, wanting to see where Infinity Cash could be leveraged. To me, where you would see it would be an example like, of course, Raptorium, with its heavy focus on the CPUs and the L3 cache there. If you could figure out a way to maybe leverage Infinity Cash there, maybe that would be possible. Is it going to be done? Doubtful. That's the only idea coming from, someone that's not experienced with writing miners or anything. So there you go. Let's now go ahead and talk about the MSI RTX 2060 Ventus that was launched in France. And this is coming from videocards.net. And we'll talk a little bit here about the 2060 as well, just in general. So, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 12 gigabyte on sale in France. Although RTX 2060 12GB is to launch officially tomorrow, which will be December 7th, the first retailers have already started listing the new card. The MSI RTX 2060 Ventus 12GB overclock listing might be a placeholder. One of them, contrary to the product title, mentioned 6GB of RAM, which suggests one could simply have copied the specs from the original 6GB model, probably. It is not entirely obvious why, but the same card is actually listed twice on the PC21 website. Both listings have different prices. The card is already available for pre-order at 528 to 645 euro with VAT. For comparison, the MSI RTX 2060 Super Ventus is listed in the same store at 536 and 652 euro respectively. So if we were going to make any guesses on the new model is cheaper than the Super, it looks like not. MSI already offers two RTX 2060 6GB models based on Ventus series, the original Ventus and the Ventus XS, both offering slightly different cooling designs to make things even more confusing. There is a GP variant for the Super refresh. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 12GB is to officially launch tomorrow. NVIDIA has not communicated the MSRP for this card, but judging by the official statement, NVIDIA may very well not provide any. It will be totally up to the AIB retailers. So let's go ahead and take a look at the official statement here. So we do have basically some sort of confirmation that we should be seeing these populate tomorrow on the 7th. So if you're interested in picking one up, it could be an interesting model. Is it going to have light hash rate? I don't know. That's going to be the big question here, because basically they're just using old parts and adding some more memory, right? With some tweaks. We'll get into the specifications here. You are getting some more CUDA cores on the 12GB model, and that's going to be important for the gaming portion, but does that really translate into mining? Are they going to be implementing light hash rate locks into these cards? Is it really worth it at this point if they're just kind of basically bumping up the amount of cores and getting a little more horsepower out of the 2060? This is a really interesting launch. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that they've been re-releasing in the CMP range has been basically utilizing these as well. So it seems like they have an overstock of these 2000 series GPUs that they're trying to get rid of in any form and fashion, which to me would say it would be a really stupid idea to put a light hash rate unlock on basically what you are trying to get rid of, right? If this is basically just trying to get rid of old stock, right? It's new old stock, then I don't think from a marketing standpoint or from a sales standpoint, you would even bother with putting essentially some sort of light hash rate unlock on it. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. It just seems like to me it would be weird. Maybe we'll get some better ideas in here and see if it is. I haven't actually looked at these specifications yet. Maybe you guys in chat already know. But the webpage update confirmed that the card features 2,176 CUDA cores, so that's compared to the 1920 of the previous 2060, and is essentially an RTX 2060 Super with lower memory bandwidth. It even has the same clock speeds. So we are looking at something that will perform worse than the 2060 Super in mining because of the lower memory bandwidth, presumably. In our original reporting, this is from videocars.net, they say, we concluded that the existence of NVIDIA's own design is good news because customers will have a chance to buy the card at MSRP, either through NVIDIA's own web store or through select retail partners. An AIB launch only would mean that MSRP might be a pipe dream as soon as AIB margins and retail overcharged are included in the final price. Unfortunately, it appears that the listing of the Founders Edition was a mistake, as NVIDIA has already removed this information from the website. Tech PowerUp has confirmed with their sources at board partners that their cards will indeed be the only version of the 2060 12GB. So we're not going to be seeing a Founders Edition here. Quote, NVIDIA has updated their website to remove the Founders Edition, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. NVIDIA RTX 2060 12GB is officially launching on December 7th. We did cover that. as well. So here's the specifications kind of side by side. The 2060 Super on the left, the 12 gigabyte in the middle, and the OG on the right here. Those are really the ones we're kind of looking at. And the boost clock is saying, they're saying it's the same, but I believe what we're reading is that is going to be a little bit higher. Also, we have to take into account that the AIB board models are going to be different, right? So there you go. Here's where we see a change. The kind of the good thing about the 2060 Super is that you have a 256-bit bus, while on the original, on the 2060 has 192-bit, and then on the Touring it has, on the 12 gigabyte model, it's a 192-bit bus as well, with the exact same memory speeds, 336 gigabytes per second. It does have a higher TDP. So we don't really know exactly what this is going to cost. Hopefully it won't be $399, but it does feel like it would be $399. If you wanted mining performance, I mean, we could probably just hop into here and like literally look at a 2060 and get an idea, right? Because it's essentially the same thing as far as from a memory perspective. So you're looking at $1.62 per day on Ethereum right now as we sit. More than likely for this particular GPU, you would still, you know, hopefully go to a 2060 Super. There could be some good trade deals that you could get or work with some people, like a 2060 Super. Let's go ahead and look at a 2060 Super. Do they even have those up here right now? I don't think they do. Yeah, they don't have a 2060 Super. I'd probably have to go look at MinerStat. Oh, what are they saying those are getting? Right, so those are like 38 mega hash a second, while these are like 30 mega hash a second. So, I mean, if I'm playing the super hardcore game, maybe I'm trying to trade people 12 gigabyte models for supers. I don't know that anybody would do that, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So there you go, guys. We have covered the two hottest topics for GPUs and what we think they may do on mining. Nothing too exciting. Is there a light hash rate unlocked for the 2060? Or will there need to be, I guess? I don't know yet, but there you go. So let's go ahead and hop into the mining markets. Take a look after, of course, this crash that we've seen, and then go from there. So I've actually had some issues with rigs. I'll show you guys here in a second, but let's go ahead and take a look at the 3090 like we typically do. And we have dropped pretty significantly, right? We were last week on Friday or on Thursday, we were hitting, you know, $750 a day on Ethereum. Now we're all the way down to $650 a day. Last week we had some $8 days. Now in the initial dump, I had some really good blocks on FlexPool, which helped out a ton. We were actually making still the same amount in US dollar. We were making more ETH. And then, of course, now we've settled down. I thought maybe the market would start going back up today. Doesn't look like that's happening yet, but we're still mining. We're still, you know, in profit. So happy-go-lucky there. This is at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, 648 after that. Now, as always, I like to take a look at the 2080 Ti because it's the only GPU that has consistently performed better on a coin other than Ethereum. So let's calculate that out. And that does not appear to be the case today. Since the market has dropped, Ethereum is more profitable on the 2080 Ti at $3.08 a day after power. And Flux, which used to be number one just last week on Thursday, is now at $2.44 a day on Flux. So this is one of those things where we once again talk about coin hopping and trying to chase the profit. You want to be careful. The other thing about that is not only do you have to worry about the coins that are not as established dropping down or whatnot, right? But you also have to worry about liquidation of those coins. You know, how fast can you liquidate them? When can you liquidate them? And however those algorithms are going to be changing things, and the amount of shares that you have within a pool. Because most pools have basically started decentivizing any sort of pool hopping. The more pool switching you do, typically the less money you make these days. The only way really around this as a miner or a home miner is utilizing something like mining rig rentals or NiceHash, right? And they have their own problems to deal with as well. Right now, if you probably were on NiceHash, usually when we see a down market, your profitability is going to be affected pretty negatively, typically, as opposed to if you're actually mining the coin in the same circumstance. So there's lots of little things to talk about. If you have questions specifically and would like me to clarify something on that, save it, of course, for the end of the show. All right, so my profits are not looking that great as well. We are down to 314 a day at the farm. I do have one rig offline. It's my 3080 Ti rig. Why is that rig offline? Well, that rig is offline because we were mining Raptorium, and apparently 17 hours ago, something happened and was obviously having load averages really, really high, which I think is what caused the issue. So what's going to happen is we're going to come into here, right? And we're just going to go to our flight sheet. We're going to go ahead and edit, and we're going to go ahead and trash this, update, and we're just going to say create new flight sheet. And what we are going to do is go boot it back up, and then hopefully what happens here is we see if it was really the CPU that's having the issue, right? And then if the CPU is really kind of what's causing this, the CPU mining, we'll go ahead and figure out how we want to go ahead and address it. Because of the error on the rig, it looks like that is more than likely what's going on. So there you go. Let's go ahead and look at some mining pool stats, see if there's been any crazy difficulty changes or shifts within mining, you know, the various coins, whether that be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Raptorium, so on. So popping over to here, of course, Bitcoin right off the bat. Are we seeing any difficulty drops in the last 6 months? No, we've been pretty steady since that big drop off initially from the China one. So that's looking pretty normal. No specific pool drop offs. It looks like this pool went down, D2 pool top, but nothing significant happening here necessarily at all. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum, see if anything has changed here significantly, and that is just still going up and up and up and up. So what is that? Yeah, 12.02p. The difficulty on ETH is just going haywire. It's going up and up, it looks like. So looks like some new Chinese pools have come on. So XN pool right here, that's interesting to see. Don't click into these, probably a terrible idea, but trying to see where it was from. Oh. Let's see, they spun it up in August and it's valid until 2022. Let's go ahead and do a who is on it. Not a ton of information. Let's go ahead and do a DNS lookup on it. Cloudflare is their DNS provider. Cool. All right, I never heard of that one. Fun. I'll do some more research into it. So it looks like, anyways, new Chinese pools. I don't know if they're trying to get around it or what. Let's go ahead and look at Raptorium, which had some of the sharpest difficulty spikes recently, and it's had another one. So we thought everything was good, at 9. This is just getting crazy. So it's up to 13. Real big spike there. Once again, looks like there's some new pools they're trying to start up. Third Power Life of the US, EU pools just started up recently. Lots of new pools coming online. That's good for the network overall. Monero Ocean added one. Any other big names in here? Supernova's already been around. I think Monero Ocean is probably the biggest thing. And a couple they've dropped off. So Raptorium's not looking super friendly. Let's go ahead and look at Ergo. Ergo difficulty has actually gone down since September. No new pools online, it doesn't look like. So you're still looking at Nanopool, Hero Miners, and Flypool, and 2 miners. So pretty standard there. That might not be a bad one to keep an eye on, though, with the difficulty dropping lower like that. Let's take a look at Flux. Flux has only gone up in difficulty, pretty sharp since, I guess November here. It was sitting like we saw at the top of the list for the RTX 2080 Ti. I do know a lot of farms had a lot of 2080 Ti's, so it's probably not too hard for them to move those over if that was really what was most profitable for them. That's probably why we see that, or at least that's what I would lean towards the reasoning being. So there you go on Flux. And then let's go ahead and look at Ravencoin and Firo. So Ravencoin, difficulty hasn't really adjusted much, pretty much staying consistent, nothing surprising there. And then let's take a look at Firo. Firo, we've had a sharp increase in difficulty, and then it's maintained since October. So there you go as far as that goes. Let's look at mining pool profits for Ethereum now, and then we will get into question and answers after this. So for the last 90 days, Ethereum on top with mining pool and hub in second and crazy pool in third. Last 60 days, you had mining pool hub take first place and putting Ethermine into second place and crazy pool into third. The last 30 days, mining pool hub remains in first place and crazy pool takes second place, with ZET taking third and Ethermine getting knocked pretty far down. The last 21 days, Ethermine makes a comeback, hitting third place. Flexpool moves into second place, and Mining Pool Hub remains in first. Last 14 days, we have no change from the last 21 days. Last 7 days, Crazy Pool takes first place, with Nanopool moving into second and Mining Pool Hub into third. Last 3 days, we have Crazy Pool in first once again, with 2 miners in second and Ethermine in third. And then the last day, we have Crazy Pool in first with 2 miners in second and Flex Pool in third. So obviously, Crazy Pool had some issues, I think primarily with their security, too tight on security. That's what I was told, why I had so many issues with them. Maybe that's getting resolved. I haven't looked to see if they've increased the amount of hash rate on their pool recently. I guess we could go take a look. Let's go to the front. It has increased a little bit from, so when I was mining on there, it was 1.7 terahash. And then it looks like now it's back to 1.71. For a while, it was around 1.4. So they have increased their hash rate, which is probably helping them out. They also have that cool tool that's Jackpot. I may try it again. Of course, we've been at Flexpool. I've been fine there right now, but it's important that we cover all of this sort of stuff. It's time for me to sit down and answer questions. So for Q&A, as always, the way it goes is that the donations or the super chats get priority. And then from there, make sure you tag my name at Son of a Tech when you are typing out the question. that just highlights it in orange in my chat browser for me to be able to recognize and see it easier. Otherwise, it's kind of hard. I will try to pick out questions if it's not tagged, but it's definitely not guaranteed and much less likely that I will actually get to your question if the rules aren't followed. All right, so, ooh, that lower back, I need to go. I got jiu-jitsu after this, so I'll stretch out, I guess. That was weird. Ooh, so Happy Dictator says that he found out that the algorithm for Flux was developed by the developer of LoLMiner. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, that's what I get for being lazy all weekend. John Lemon says, at Son of a Tech, did you see the Flux Twitter today posting about the real world applications they are making? I've seen some stuff. I did like seeing TeamSpeak and FluxOS. I definitely need to look into it. It's a lot of work, even in one coin, to fully follow all the projects and stuff that's going on. I try to retweet it, pin it, do all that sort of stuff, and then get back around to it. But there is some cool stuff going on with Flux, especially this past week, that has intrigued me, that I definitely want to get into researching more of, right? And the fact that they are promoting TeamSpeak, which is fully encrypted, self-hosted, and just overall a better application than Discord from a privacy and security standpoint, as well as just end user anonymity and sovereignty, all that sort of stuff. I'm a fan of TeamSpeak. I'm hoping that TeamSpeak comes out with their new TeamSpeak. It's supposed to be a self-hosted Discord all out. We will be replacing Rocket Chat with that once it launches. I've been playing around in their beta. It does work really well, but of course the beta isn't something that we can deploy. We'll go over that, of course, and show you guys how to deploy it, etc. once it launches as well, so you can create your own chat channels and stuff for your friends and remain outside of the Discord landscape, I guess, which is obviously fully tracked, even though they don't track your private messages. You know, that's what they say, but it's clear that they have banning possibilities, which means that they are clearly tracking what everybody is saying because they are banned, or basically creating the rules there isn't as good as having like the individual server moderators basically taking care of that. Are we still connected? Okay, we are still connected. I had a little bit of a glitch there, which was weird. Let me check this out again. Looks like the crazy pool. So I talk about crazy pool and the API goes down. Come on, guys. Don't hit him that hard. Come on, guys. Don't hit him that hard. All right. Napio says, do you think Windows 11 is slower for gaming and mining? No, I haven't noticed that at all. Pretty much exactly the same on both. There's some applications that seem to perform better in gaming. It depends on which ones. Let's see. Detroit Iris says, Son of a Tech, you talked about penalizing pool hopping. Do you see a similar penalty if you switch wallets but not pools? No, not usually. Yes. Sorry. Ooh, derp. Because it is tied to your wallet. So you're like all your shares and everything are tied to that wallet address. That's how the pool identifies you. So if you change your wallet address, it considers you a completely new miner. And in that case, of course, would basically reset your seniority within the pool. Jacob Madsen says, at Son of a Tech, do you have any good crypto conspiracies? I do not. I'm sorry. Myself says I have an RTX A2000 6GB and constantly getting problems with mining ETH and Raven. Says not enough memory, but always turns 6 from 8 cards on. I don't know. That's kind of a hard one to understand. First of all, what you're saying, not enough memory. And then is it when you add from 6 to 8 cards? Like, so if you have a 6 card rig and you add 8 cards, and then my question would be, are you on Windows and have you set the page file to accommodate for the amount of GPUs? Ermis says, that's out of a text, searching for a new mining pool for EU except Ethermine. How to proceed? Definitely use mining pools profits. See if any of the pools on there have a EU setup, and then use the ping tool from 2 miners to ping each pool to see where you have the best latency to reduce the amount of stale shares that you would get. I'm not yawning. I'm trying to get a weird breath because I did something sitting down. That's what I guess being in your 30s is. Kirby the Kirby says, any concerns with future equipment moving to 12 volt only standard from Obos and the GPUs needing a 600 watt power connector? A 600 watt power connector? Huh? So if you change standards, like you still have all the old equipment. I mean, like for the most part, most people have not, like, I'm not going to upgrade my H110 BTC. It's not needed, right? Now, if the GPU switch to like a different power standard, kind of like NVIDIA did, there'll probably be adapters and so on as well. And there'll probably be adapters if the motherboards shift too. Now, obviously, like, depending on the standard, you would have changes, but it's not like that wouldn't be a well planned out transition, because you can't just be like, oh, here's a new graphics card that only supports these the new specifications of power supplies, and then try to sell those to a whole bunch of people as upgrades to their current system. It usually will take some time to phase out, right? It's not like a PCIe a PCIe 3.0 NVMe drive doesn't work on a PCIe 4.0 slot. So like I'm just saying, compatibility wise, I don't think anybody would shoot themselves in the foot that hard, especially when you're talking about the PC market, right? PC gaming market and enthusiast market specifically. Agrigocker Visual says, Asamatech, do you consider yourself an ergonaut? No, I don't. I mean, I'm just as much of an ergonaut as a Raven coiner or a Bitcoiner or whatever else. I cover stuff I find interesting. And specifically, usually as it pertains to technical things that you can do with it, right? Ergo is an interesting platform because it's the youngest platform that has the basically the most amount that you can do on it for the amount of time it's been around. It's pretty incredible. So of course I'm going to support projects like that when they show good moves, right? Payne says, Ask Avatech, I got a good deal on an RTX 3060 Ti, a light hash rate rig, and you're mining Ethereum at the moment, but is it worth it to buy LHR cards since they're available where I live? It's going to be up to you. I mean, you're going to have to use the tools like we use on the channel. Make sure you're mining what's most profitable, and then for the light hash rate cards, stay on top of light hash rate unlocked miners to make sure that you're getting the most out of it, right? So it's just going to take more work. I think the light hash rate cards definitely do take more work. They also, to me, seem to be the most random as far as performance. Meaning, like, I can have one light hash rate card that unlocks at 69% and one light hash rate card that unlocks at 80%. And because of that performance variance, specifically like when mining Ethereum, it actually does make it a little bit more difficult to calculate things like ROI and that sort of stuff, right? So, I mean, if I can avoid them and get non-light hash rate versions, I always lean towards that. And then I have pretty much, I only have light hash rate cards for testing, to be honest. Like, I'm not buying them and deploying full rigs of light hash rate cards in my farm, personally. Jason Pop says, at Son of a Tech, thoughts on Hive on Pool running my 4 rigs free on Hive OS and 3 on Windows. Pros and cons. Pro, you don't have fees. Cons, whatever is going on with the pool, you make significantly less on Hive on Pool than you do other places. Meaning, like, it's typically even more beneficial for you to just pay the fees of the pool and pay the fees to Hive OS and mine at Ethermine or Flex Pool or Crazy Pool or 2 miners, right? We just went over the mining pool's profits. We'll make sure we do that every day, but obviously that's near the bottom of the list. Amkane says, have you ever done a business related video? I have covered taxes. You can go watch it, but also you need to talk to a CPA, and you're just going to need to hire one, and you're going to need to learn what the best formation of the LLC is for you and so on. I can't give you the full information because it's also going to vary state by state, obviously country by country, and individual by individual, how much you're making and how much you're reinvesting and how good you are at reinvesting and all that sort of stuff, right? Jay Bain, good morning to you as well. Me myself says Windows which page file. Basically, you would go into your advanced settings and set your page file. You can Google, how to set page file in Windows. It's also in my 5 settings for Windows 10 guide, as well as I believe in the Windows 11 guide as well. But Windows 11 seems to set the page file pretty adequately for the most part, most of the time. But on bigger rigs, you would have to adjust it still on Windows 11 as well. Sanjeev Kumar says, Son of a Tech, could you please help me understand, considering current rewards on ETH and gas fee issue, which one is more stable for profit? Which one, what is more stable for what? I don't understand the question because I don't think that there was enough context for it. Sorry. Sheer ROI. I don't know. Ask Son of a Tech, are there any pools that have adopted Polygon apart from Ethermine and Flexpool? No, not to my knowledge. 2 miners is doing like Bitcoin. Let's see. Jacob Madsen says, that's Son of a Tech playing good games recently. I started looking at play to earn games. I'm not a big fan of play to earn games. I don't think that personally, that doesn't appeal to me. It's a lot of time for not a lot of payoff, I suppose, is kind of my biggest issue with it. And then I've always felt like I want my whole in-game ecosystem to function properly. There's very few games that have good economies though. And really the path that games started taking a lot of years back started ruining them. I mean, even one of the games that I was excited for was kind of the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, which was Back 4 Blood. And they ruined Back 4 Blood. And the way they ruined it is that whole card system. Randomized card systems for loot in games I don't like. Especially if it's okay, now you get a deck of cards and it's going to cycle through them. And when you draw them, then you can pick the perks. But only if you draw the card. And play to earn just lends itself towards that randomness that then doesn't take into account, it usually leans on the randomness to make you better than leaning on player skill to make you better. And that is the danger of play to earn, and has been the danger that video games have been suffering for a long time now. And it's not the direction I want to see gaming go in, even though I'm a fan of blockchain and of video gaming. Pairing them together in this manner does not, isn't advantageous for basically the gaming community, in my humble opinion. And I don't think that is the right direction for games at all. I just don't. It's not fun. So that's my thoughts on it. Melly asked, when do the AMD cards come out? They come out basically one in January. The 6500 XT and the 6400 comes out in March. You can get more details by rewatching, of course, the live stream if you don't mind. Also, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button and not forgetting that would be super awesome. We have about 2 minutes left here, so I'm going to try to fire off any last minute questions, and then I'm going to get out of here and get into Jiu-Jitsu mode. Happy Dictator says, Tech, have you looked into mining CKB? No, I have not. I can add it to my list now. Risky Analysis says, Tech, do you know of any projects looking to use Ravencoin for something like what they mentioned on their website, in particular game serials, token NFTs to verify ownership of game you buy? I don't know of any projects that are. I think most of the projects that are going that route seem to be utilizing more established projects, whether that be Solana, Ethereum. Let's see, not Polkadot. Cardano, though, I think has a couple. And then what was the last one? Tron has one. I don't know that it's actually really any good, but I believe Tron has one. Racing Miner says, Tech, is there a universal average of extra wattage when switching from ETH proof of work algorithm like Raven to Raven? Want to make sure they stay under 80% of available. So Ravencoin is pretty significantly more power consuming for the most part. So you are going to want to be careful. If you're running everything super close on ETH and it's at 80%, be careful. Each card is going to be different for how much extra power it takes for Ravencoin. And then also the other thing important about Ravencoin is just because initially it's not showing that it's showing more power, keep in mind it probably will show more power depending on what part of the hashing it is going through at any given time. So be careful. Jay Bain says, have you used social? I feel like sometimes you guys are always trying to bait me into like pump your own coin or websites. I have not used that website, Jay Bain. I can take a look at it though. John Lemon says, @SonOfATech, where can we submit SOT memes? I mean, on Twitter, @SonOfATech. Go for it. All right, boys, that is it for today. It is 10:46 a.m. I'll get this last one because it relates to what I'm about to do. Green-Eyed Monster says, @SonOfATech, fellow BJJ practitioner here since 2004. That's a long time. I just started, so awesome. Do I train both gi and no gi? Yes, but much more gi, a lot less no gi. Like once a week on no gi, like 4 times a week on gi. Also, would you recommend against CPU mining on the same rig as GPU mining? Thanks. So yesterday or earlier this week, I may have said yes, I would say like go ahead and, or I would say yes, go ahead and mine with CPU and GPU on the same rig. This week, because I'm having issues with one particular rig, it makes me want to say no. Primarily, the issue I'm having is a load average, which is high. And I think that's because the rig was trying to update at the same time that it was trying to mine Raptorium. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to be troubleshooting it today. Check back. I haven't had too many issues. They've stayed up for the most part. It can cause, though, essentially a whole other set. It adds more variables and points of failure, right? So anytime you're trying to like build a rig, sometimes it's just nice to like focus on like reduce the amount of points of failure so that you have the least amount of work that you need to do, especially if you're trying to run a farm at scale with few to no employees. So there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. We will be back tomorrow morning, 9:45 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10:45 a.m. Eastern, and that will do it for today. Always check back for the clips. If you're more of a clips guy, we will have everything, the individual topics clipped out. This week is only going to be the live show plus the clips, because I will be competing on Saturday, December 11th in my first jiu-jitsu competition. So that's really where my focus is aimed at. And then we'll kind of be back to regularly scheduled programming after that, meaning more how-tos, reviews, and guides, all of that stuff. We have stuff in the pipeline for Ergo Auction House. We have stuff in the pipeline for GPU testing, 6600, 3070 Ti. We have some CPU mining testing, 3600 XT, 5900X, and some motherboards. And that's specifically motherboards for CPU mining. And then we also have an ASRock H510 motherboard review, a case review, a hardware wallet review, and some riser reviews as well. Thanks everybody that's also been sending me equipment for review, as far as like all the frames and stuff. Thank you guys for that. I'm trying to get around to it. You know, it is what it is. I'll see y'all next Tuesday.